the news center outside the city of Chicago in the great Midwest, it's the Stranger Than Fiction News right here on The Fringe FM. I'm Vance Nesbitt. Here's our headlines. Residents of a Far East Russian region wake up to a bizarre pitch-black morning. The people of a Siberian district got a feeling of déjà vu Friday when they woke up to total darkness at an hour when the sun should have been high in the sky. A similar phenomena occurred in the region just over a year ago. This time of year, dawn breaks at around 4 a.m., but photos taken by locals at around 8 in the morning show no sign of the sun, as entire settlements are bathed in almost complete darkness with a bizarre yellow tinge to it. Luckily, locals were used to such an unusual phenomena, as just last year, another region experienced a pitch-black morning. In fact, some people took to social media to ask if this is becoming some sort of weird tradition. Is it becoming a weird tradition that every July or August we wake up panicking because the sun is off again? Asked by a local resident. Although there is yet no official explanation for the bizarre sunless morning, weather experts believe it may be related to forest fires raging over Siberia. Apparently, the high amounts of carbon monoxide in the atmosphere may have led to rapid formations of unusually thick clouds that block the sun out completely. Source: Oddity Central. And the world's biggest frogs are so strong that they've been seen moving heavy rocks to build their own ponds. New research shows that Goliath frogs, the world's largest frog species, found in Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea, build ponds for their eggs and tadpoles, moving rocks more than half their body weight in the process. A team of researchers from Cameroon and Germany studied the animals, which can weigh up to 6.6 pounds and measure more than 13 inches in length, excluding their legs, when fully grown. The heavy labor that the frogs do could explain their size, according to scientists. They sometimes move rocks weighing up to 4.4 pounds. As well as being strong, the frogs have also proved themselves to be anxious parents, nurturing their young in ponds away from torrent rivers and potential predators. Source: CNN. And out of Spanish Ontario, a fisherman in Canada has released a picture of a massive winged creature he believes could be the Thunderbird. A man named Mark says he was fishing at Lake Huron with his father when they spotted the large bird. The shared picture, reportedly taken by Mark in the summer of 2012, depicts a big-sized bird initially resembling a juvenile bald eagle. But Mark says he was able to identify other eagles and seagulls that day of the sighting, and that this bird was definitely an unknown species. You can see the picture and the report at cryptozoologynews.com. And yes, it's time for another Stranger Than Fiction fringe fun fact. You've heard of police dogs, but police geese? As of 2013, 12 police stations in rural area of China have begun to use geese as sentries. They are alert animals, and as well as you probably know, can create a lot of noise and commotion, which creative Chinese law enforcement officers are taking advantage of. While this trend is yet to spread throughout China, Dongguan police claim that the geese have already stopped at least one theft. This has been the Stranger Than Fiction News on the Fringe FM. Again, I'm Vance Nesbitt, news anchor and sorcerer.
Message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
20 seconds to LOS speed ready.
The first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
Broadcasting from a shack on a hill in the mossy creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void live on the Fringe FM. I'm Joe Root. Welcome to the show. It's Thursday night, August the 22nd on into the 23rd. Well, it's finally here. You have all talked me into it. No, I'm just playing. I'm not going to blame it on you, but it's time we talked about it. Tonight, Lighting the Void is going down the rabbit hole of the deep state and, quote, conspiracy, right? That's really kind of like an old word because we know some of these things are 100% true, just like we said last night. So then we must start with a great guest. So Elana Freeland is here with us tonight, and that's who we're going to be speaking with. And you guys that have been hitting me up about the deep state issues know exactly who she is. So she's here with us, and we're going to be speaking with her just in a moment. You guys don't forget about the Sci-Spy Transcendence event that's going to be happening in Sedona, Arizona. You can sign up at scispy.tv/events. Put in LTV, get $25 off. Also, the show is brought to you by GetTheTea.com. GetTheTea.com is still doing some sales on the front page of their website. Our webinars will be announced soon. We're doing some different kind of research, so just stay tuned for that. Also, AncientLifeOil.com, same thing. Ronnie McMullen. There's no better person to put your trust in with this stuff, I'm telling you. And when it comes to the impurities that they're showering upon us right now as we speak, you need to have this stuff in your body. You need to cleanse your body at all times. It's all about defense. And prepare with thefringe.com so you don't get caught unawares. You can support the show by donating if you go to the website. Just hit the donate button right there. You'll see it on the right. And we thank you all for your support very much. And if you can't support, just share, like the show, leave a review. I really appreciate you guys that leave those fantastic reviews. Thank you so much for doing that as well. And did you see the tweets? You saw the Mobile, the UFO Seekers Mobile is back. Season 4 is coming back. UFOseekers.com. Again, we'll always say backed and supported by the Fringe FM and Lighting the Void. It's the only people I trust to keep a journalistic approach to the subject. Yes, there is someone out there that does it. It's Tim Doyle and Tracy at UFOseekers.com, YouTube.com/UFO Seekers. And if you need to report a sighting, give them a call at 661-UFO-7889. So tonight, again, as I said, we're going to talk about the deep state. There's a vast amount of subjects in here, okay? Now, Elana Freeland knows a lot about all these, and she's been doing this research for over 9 years, so it's pretty important. But you guys know that I want to know the truth about these things. Not believe something. I want to know. And it's important that we talk to real researchers that have done their work on this. Other people like the dark journalists. There are people out there that do real research, and Elana's one of them. Now, Elana, if you don't know Freeland, Elana Freeland is a writer, ghostwriter, storyteller, and teacher who researches and writes on the deep state issues like geoengineering, MKUltra, ritual abuse, and invasive electromagnetic weapons. Nexus, October 2014, and she is best known for Chemtrails, HAARP, and Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth, and Under An Ionized Sky, From Chemtrails to Space Fence Lockdown, and is now writing the third book in the series, which will be about synthetic biology and transhumanism. Now, having come of age in the eye of the 60s, Maelstrom, Elana has also written the 4-book fictional format series Sub Rosa America, which is a deep state history about the hidden history of America since President John F. Kennedy's televised assassination. Now, most recently, she wrote the story What Would Solon Have Done for the 2017 book If I Were King, Advice for President Trump, edited by Harry Blazer, with an introduction by Catherine Austin Fitts. Now, Freeland's undergraduate degree was in creative writing with a second major in biology, and her Master of Arts degree from St. John's College in Santa Fe, New Mexico, concentrated on historiography, and she lives in Olympia, Washington. And this is a real treat for me because this is the first show we've done this on here, Elana, and I'm really thankful that you're on here with me to talk to us about this, because I know a little bit about these subjects. But to be honest with you, I give up on a lot of them, and I'm wheeling back around because I know some of this stuff is real. And I think more than ever now, like, we want to know the answers. We want to get down to the truth. Do you feel like we're getting closer to the truth of all this stuff than we used to be, or are we getting further away?
I think a lot of people are waking up now to some of it. But the truth is, it's so overwhelming what is true, and it's happened so fast. I mean, when I think of the deep state, and I think of 20 years ago and the deep state, and I was doing research back then on MKUltra and other different topics that had to do with something sort of snaking its way into the U.S. government that really, really started back in the end of World War II, when we brought in the paperclip Nazis. And I think of how the research I did on that, just to discover what it meant to bring Nazi engineers, scientists, and technicians in, change their records, give them carte blanche in our hospitals, our universities, our military bases, our rocket program. And I compare it to how far we have come since then. I am really overwhelmed. And to overwhelm me is not easy. I mean, now that I am deep, deep into the research of this final third book in the series, I think of how fast in a half century we have come to this technological impasse that we are now at. And I am grateful that people are waking up to vaccinations, they're waking up to GMO foods, they're waking up to pedophilia and how it's used as a primary blackmail agent to run politicos and corporate CEOs. I mean, all of this criminal background that has happened in the United States since a sitting president was murdered in the streets of Dallas, and then the paperclip Nazis simply were not stopped and have really basically moved the entire Third Reich over to this country. I cannot tell you how fortunate I feel. I know this is going to be shocking. I feel fortunate to live in a time like this, where we are living in a time of transition from one era to another. We are living in a time of transition from simple technology that we basically could understand in a high school physics class to something that is so overwhelming and at least 50, if not 100 years in the future. And yet, we are still a nation. We are still moving forward in the sense of people trying to keep their feet as this news just pours out to us every day. And that mainstream media news, most of it's lies, deception, subterfuge, distraction. And yet we have still the internet. It's definitely endangered and jeopardized right now. But we have the internet, which gives alternative views. We have many people on the internet now who are democratically minded and trying desperately to understand the time they're living in. And that's what we need in order to unravel this deep politics, 50 years of development to where we are now. And yes, you have invited the right guest, because I really do understand where we are now, because I've spent 9 years on this and 3 books.
Well, I understand that. Believe me, I understand that in a way where, like, I've done my research when it comes to, I guess you could just say hermetics, right? The, ancient wisdom type stuff. And when I hear people just misrepresent it, and I'm not saying I know everything, but it is very frustrating when people speak on subjects, and I'm sure everybody's experienced this, that you know more about when you've researched something. You've researched it till the cows come home and it gets misrepresented. What do you think is the most misrepresented thing right now when it comes to what we call the deep state and conspiracy, like the biggest distraction that's going on to take everybody's mind off of things?
Well, of course, recently we had the Jeffrey Epstein distraction. We have people, I've lived a long time now. I was a 60s person. I actually had tea with John F. Kennedy in the Rose Garden when I was a girl.
Wow.
Because I was at Girls Nation, and Bill Clinton was there. He was in the same Rose Garden I was. He was at Boys Nation. I didn't know him, but he referred to it many times, and I realized we were there at the same time. And then 4 months later, Kennedy was killed, and I was invited by the groups that had paid for my trip to Washington to come and talk about my day with Kennedy. So I think that was my awakening. And since then, when I think how politics were then, they were, we all knew that politicians for the most part were crooked. We knew that they were out for themselves, their careers. Once in a while, we'd get a politician that we might think was not like that, and then boom, suddenly he's dead. And we slowly put together how politics were being run, that there was a very tight ship being run as the nation was moving in a direction that very few Americans knew about, because the mainstream media had been taken over by the CIA in 1973 with Operation Mockingbird. And so we've had to dig and claw our way through everything. But I think what is most overwhelming, and I wouldn't say it's distracting, but it's certainly covered up well, is this latest technological takeover of the environment. And this may not sound political. People may put this in the category of geology, biology, aeronautics, astrophysics, plasma physics, but really it is very political, because the UN is very involved right now in bringing everyone on board for the globalization that has been promised to us since the failure of the League of Nations at the end of World War I. This is the globalist elite's dream, and for us, it's going to be a nightmare. But it is so extensive and so deep. And you mentioned your interest in esoterics of the past. This is also very esoteric, because we are being led into a quantum world. And what I would like to do tonight, given that other guests that you're going to have are probably very up on a lot of political things. I mean, I'm up on political things too, but I feel that that's the distraction.
Yeah.
The real drama is the fact that we're being guided into a technocracy. And a technocracy is, by definition, running people through technology. And it is an oligarchy. It is a few who will run the majority. And now that the technology is so complex and so overwhelming, that most people I talk to, and this is the sad part, most people I talk to just have no confidence whatsoever in themselves to be able to unravel what this technology is and what the dangers are and what they should do about it. I mean, they still have the old paradigm in their mind that when you find out your government is doing something bad to you and the citizenry, that you make signs, you go out into the streets, you protest, you write your congressman, and you sign petitions and submit them to your government. All that's over. That's over, Joe. It is absolutely over. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. What is happening now is the technology of control over our minds, over our communities, our neighborhoods, all of it is so extensive and so technically frightening that this is what I have turned to show people our condition. Why would I do that? Why, I've lost a lot of friends, as you can probably imagine, because, I'm the bearer of the bad news.
Right.
But I feel that until we understand our situation in all its raw terror, we cannot think our way through this and discover the things that can help us. For example, low-tech solutions to high technology assaults. Yes, many of the things of the past that are low-tech are going to be exceedingly valuable to us, because there are some things that people don't know that have to do with those esoterics you referred to, that if we but understood them, we would understand that our consciousness is the real joker in the deck. That if we can develop a consciousness of the problem and the people behind it, then we can decide ways that we can prepare our children, our grandchildren, our communities, and ourselves to survive this time of transition. And that's what I'm dedicated to doing, and what I'm writing about, and what I go on radio shows for, and I give talks around the country. This is it. I want to empower people to see that if they can but understand, even though it's not going to feel good, once they understand it, they're going to perhaps go through shock like I did. I remember sitting in my desk chair where I am now and having a good weep a few times in the early days when I began to realize the depth of what has happened regarding the deep state, that the deep state is coming not in the typical political pose, but is actually coming through technology. And that's what I'd like to sort of spell out to the best of my ability tonight, starting right away with the trails in the sky that people think are a big conspiracy theory. Oh, they're not, I'm sorry to say. They're chemicals. And they're carrying a lot of things in them that we are breathing, because our atmosphere is one large envelope, and we are all subject to it. And so beginning there, we can begin to see what we have going on inside our bodies, around us, and begin to take measures to take care of ourselves.
Well, I used to be one of those guys that didn't believe in the chemtrails, but not only do I believe in them now, I'm so worried about what the real agenda is. You know, you hear things like depopulation on a lot of different things. But I think it really has, I honestly think, and maybe you can help me with this, that it has something to do with 5G. And the reason why I say that is because if they put enough aluminum in the air or particles or whatever, and we're breathing this stuff in, and I know this sounds like, just insane, but we get this stuff in our bloodstream, then they put us in a microwave I mean, it's pretty easy to see how they could just pretty much wax anybody on the planet that they want to. You know, it's like almost like when I brought up the other night how Monsanto has patented a seed that would grow in aluminum. Now, why would they do that? And I'm thinking, you're right. The more I look into this, the more it does get freaky. Even if I'm not right about everything, you start seeing how they have their hands in every little thing. And technology now is moving so fast that I don't know how. I mean, we're like at the precipice. We're going to have to make some decisions pretty quick, or things are going to get real bad.
Well, that's the problem. Like, who is the we that you're talking about? You know, we're having a great divide happen right now. Mm-hmm. And the great divide is between the masters of the universe, the sociopaths who are in charge of, for one thing, the geoengineering program. And the reason I think the geoengineering is absolutely the core big deep state problem is because we're all involved in it. This is not a matter of them dropping something over Cincinnati, Ohio. This is the entire planet. This is all of humanity. And this is why we need to really seriously look at the many components of this. Don't have to look deep, just to understand how it all fits together. Because I mentioned a few things before. I mentioned GMOs, I mentioned vaccinations, I mentioned the electromagnetism. You're bringing up the 5G. Yes, these are all connected to the geoengineering problem that is being denied in mainstream media. It's lied about constantly. They make us feel that carbons are the problem so they can pull money out of various nations for that. They make us feel that the global warming is because of our cars. All of that is a lie. It is an outright lie. It's like Goebbels, Hitler's propaganda minister during World War II, said that if you tell a lie and you are the government, you must make sure it's a big lie, because the small lies can be understood eventually. But a big lie, if you repeat it enough over and over and over again, will absolutely be believed. Because no one can imagine that experts and very educated people would do such a thing as hoodwink the entire planet regarding the truth about something so vast and so many repercussions as geoengineering and global warming. So that's where we need to take things apart in little pieces just to understand what is true and what isn't, so that we can make our moves to take care of ourselves and our communities and our families. That's how I'm looking at it now. I remember when people used to ask me when I'd go give talks in places, Elana, what can we do? How can we stop them? Well, I have never been a person who feels that I can stop this aspect of deep politics. Maybe you can get a little run over here or there with vaccinations or with the 5G. Maybe you can. I'm always hopeful, and I'm always thrilled when people don't feel helpless, don't succumb to there's nothing I can do, but they really go after something, even if I don't think that venue will really be a success. It doesn't really matter, because what's being done by those people is community. We're drawing together. We are on one side of this spiritual war going on this planet right now. And we are on the right side of history, not the history that the winners and the psychopaths and the sociopaths write, but we are on the right side of the divine. And this is key to me for why I work so hard. Everybody thinks I'm making a lot of money from these books. Well, I'm not. Of course I'm not. And I'm not making money in any other way regarding this. This is my sacrifice, if you will, to use my writing talent, my speaking talent, whatever talents I have, my research, to awaken as much of the public as I can so they can take hold of the truth and live bona fide, integritous lives, no matter what the powers that be are pulling off on the planet today. And that is something that, you know, there is so much power in that, just being able to do that. So much power. We hardly ever realize, we think, oh, well, we don't have the big bucks for the technology. We don't have those big microscopes, those big telescopes, all of the things that they're using and exploiting for the secret space program going on now. No, we don't have those, and we don't need those. What we need is to really come into our own power as human beings and defend what being a human being is. You mentioned the possibility that all of this technology could be used to destroy humanity. Yeah. Yes, that is true. They could do that anytime now, anytime, wipe millions from the planet. But they have other agendas that to them are key. And I would say that what I think is the agenda now, and what they're very interested in us doing for them, is being guinea pigs. And we are the subjects of many millions of experiments going on now. And all because we have inhaled sensors and microprocessors, tiny, tiny nano-sized computers, we are actually providing big data for their supercomputers, their quantum computers, to crunch as they build a picture of what kind of human being they want in the future as a cyborg, transhumanist device, a brain-machine interface, brain-computer interface. And this is what they're gaining from us, is they're letting us breathe all this stuff in. It's communicating to fusion centers what is going on in our brain, in our bodies, in our environment. All of it is being crunched as big data as they come to terms with what kind of enhancements they want in humanity. And that's key to understanding. Way back when this chemtrails, you know, the jets began to fly in the high altitudes, and you could see not the short little trails, the contrails that were basically condensation and ice crystals. You could see them, those would always vanish within seconds. But these trails that were being left since the mid-90s have been long trails that then spread out into a cloud cover. And this is what has taken now, you figure that happened mid-90s. So it's taken this long for this many people to finally look up and realize what they're looking at. And we are still a minority. We are still the little guy, because most people simply do not believe in their perceptions anymore unless they hear it on the news or they read it in the newspaper. Right. That is the truth. And so it's worked very well for the bad guys, the masters of the universe. This has worked really well. But it isn't working that well anymore. People are beginning to realize they're being lied to by mainstream media, and that it's not matching up well with reality, and that they are being manipulated. They are being hoodwinked. And so this is a time when we keep going, we keep saying the truth, and hopefully more and more people are awakening, so that at least they can take care of themselves and their communities and their families.
Right.
This is my great hope, that they can survive this time that has just begun. This is just the beginning of this deep politics of technocracy. And so the more we learn, the better off we're going to be in the future.
Yeah, I want to definitely touch on that too, that you brought up earlier about how some things that we just don't want to believe or that we just don't want to face. That's a big thing. And consciousness as well too, and becoming more aware. We'll be right back with Elana Freeland. Don't go anywhere. Also, if you got any questions, it's 1-800-588-0335. I'll go ahead and open that up and we'll take your questions there. Also in the chat room. We'll be right back.
This is Corbin, son of the one and only Joe Roop, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
Howdy, this is Catalina, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
Hi, this is Kronox from Belgium, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
Right, me old Chinas. I know it's an ad break, but before you lot shoot off and make yourself a cup of Rosie Lee or whatever else it is you're going to sling down your Gregory Peck, you need to listen to me babble. If, like me, you found your way to Lighting the Void via a downloadable podcast, you might want to take a butcher's at the Fringe FM Wind and Kite. You won't Adam and Eve how many other shows there are or what they rabbit on about. Ancient history, conspiracy, the consciousness, the esoteric, the occult, metaphysics, parapolitical, ufology, technology and spirituality, to name but a few. They got featured hosts like Ryan Gable, Jeremy Scott, Alex Exum, Tim Doyle, Cortana and Gigi, Susanna Ross, the Reverend John Polk, Michael Deacon and J.D. Lewis. You might find yourself listening to the thoughts and theories of the author of The Fish you just finished reading. Or you could pick up the dog and bone, call in and tell everyone your own beliefs or experiences. So do me a favour, before you put on the Ansel or crack open a bottle of vino or roll a joint, go to the Fringe FM and see what you're missing.
We've heard your feedback loud and clear. You called it out, and now we're answering. All new live programming, 5 nights a week. Always remember, the Fringe FM is for you, the listener, and we appreciate your feedback. Keep the feedback coming. You can email us at talkback@thefringe.fm, call the station at 501-777-5631, or send us a message on Facebook at The Fringe FM.
Come, walk through the mossy creek and up the hill. Never mind the flashing lights and otherworldly shadows. They stay hidden within the trees. Come, step up to the shack and begin your journey to the answers that you seek. This is Lady Anne, and you are listening to Lighting the Void on the Fringe FM.
AncientLifeOil.com. For your CBD needs, just remember, AncientLifeOil.com. What does it do for the body, you ask? I can't say due to the people in the suits that run the industry. Big Pharma's all over CBD because of its well, you know what I mean. Research the benefits of CBD on Google and come back to AncientLifeOil.com and purchase your CBD today. Non-GMO and all organic. You don't want to be using a petroleum product. You want to be using the cleanest CBD product on the market. AncientLifeOil.com. We even have CBD for your pet. Help your pet's discomfort. Help your discomfort. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Newly reduced prices to pass off the savings to the most important person. You. AncientLifeOil.com. And one more thing. We have topicals too. So if you have joint pain and some different issues that are going on in your body, you might want to use a topical. Think about it. AncientLifeOil.com. ghostwriter.com.
Did you know that qualified patients can access medical cannabis in all 50 states? Cannasense is a medical cannabis collective that helps patients in all 50 states gain access to cannabis medication. Cannasense does this with a streamlined process and strict compliance with the Compassionate Use Act of 1996, the Affordable Care Act, and the U.S. Constitution. It is important for each patient to understand the legalities involved, the cost, and the benefits of cannabis medication. Through truth, legalization, and education, the medical benefits of cannabis will supplant recreational perceptions and the real vision for change will be realized. Let the people and their personal doctors take control of their medical cannabis decisions before the greed of big business takes over. The tipping point for change is today, and Cannasense is ready to lead the charge and enable legal access for all qualified patients to medical cannabis through its proven system. For more information, go to thefringe.fm/care or click the banner on the website today.
To call Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada.
That's right. You can also call 501-424-5130 if that number doesn't work. Tonight our guest is Elana Freeland, researcher and ghostwriter, storyteller, and I think big time researcher when it comes to the deep state. It's a thing where it gets so confusing sometimes for me, Elana, that I feel like what you said earlier was so important. When we look at this stuff, all of this information and all of these different aspects of the deep state and technology, the media, music, the pharmaceuticals, Monsanto, it gets overbearing and people just either they get uncomfortable, they don't want to deal with it, or vice versa. But the biggest thing is, and what I've found, and we've been talking about this all week, and I think it's funny that you brought it back up, is we don't like to look at ourselves anymore. You know, I think we get taught to be 100% happy with the way we are and bathe in good vibes, and I believe in that. I believe there's a time for everything, right? There is a time for positivity and good vibes and all that stuff, but hypnotic rhythm takes us over. Like in the book, that's Conversations with the Devil by Napoleon Hill, the devil's number one tool is hypnotic rhythm. That's not art. And that's what is happening to us in a lot of different ways in life. You know, we get in such a state of comfort and hypnotic rhythm that we don't want to believe, like what you were talking about. Like, there's no way these people can do this stuff to us, or this can't be happening. And then we don't even want to face our own faults. And then they got us. I mean, they got us right in the palm of their hands. So, you know what I mean? We got to start facing ourselves first before we can even get our power back. We're supposed to be we're supposed to have dominion over this planet. We're supposed to protect people that can't protect themselves. That's what the human spirit is all about, that kind of freedom. But now all you hear is love, light, and good vibes, and I can't wait to get off the planet. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I want to address that in a real way. I spent years, about 10 years, studying MK Ultra, which was a mind control program with 149 sub-projects run by the CIA from 1953 to 1973. And it also went on from there, but it was renamed, and it was sort of a shell game going on to figure out what it had become and who was running it and who was funding it and all that. So let me just cut to the chase on that. MK Ultra is alive and well. It's being done today. It's changed its techniques to more of a technological remote control through frequencies and radio waves, microwaves, and it is incredibly powerful because, for one thing, we don't even know it's going on. So let's just look at that for a minute. Okay, so there's people who are actually mind controlled. I mean, they are like robots. They have to do what their master tells them to do. They're super, super mind control. Then there's another type of mind control, which we call conditioning. And the conditioning we've had in the United States since the 50s and perhaps even the late 40s is television, and music. Now we have besides the TV and stereos and super sound systems, we have computers that can do the same thing. We have cell phones. We have all this equipment. Do you honestly think that this equipment in our homes, in some cases in every room in the house, in our cars, everywhere we go, in the shops, everywhere we go, there is some electronics going on? Do you honestly think that that would not be taken advantage of for controlling our minds and our feelings and our emotions, and who we're going to vote for, and everything that is spilled out by the mainstream media? Do you honestly think that this technology is neutral? It is not neutral. I have done many years of study on this technology, and this is what we have to face first. Yes, you want a comfortable life. You want a secure life. You want a happy life. You want to make sure that those you love have the same thing. But as we look out and around, we see that everything is sort of crumbling now. And there's a reason for that, because we have not spent the time on really looking at our conditioning. We have got to come to terms with the fact that we have been conditioned to think peace, love, and light, to think, if we think hate, we think hate. If we have fear, we have fear. All of these things are being influenced by the technology around us. I personally have never owned a television because I saw quite early as a young woman, wow, when they call this programming, they really meant it. I am being programmed by this TV, and most of the stuff on the TV is crap anyway, so no way, I don't want a TV. And then now with the cell phone, I don't own a cell phone because I already know that it's a military weapon. Yes, it's a weapon system because you can be pulsed through the cell towers near your house, through the power lines, through the 60 hertz in the walls of your home, through your Internet of Things with your dishwasher talking to your dryer, talking to your refrigerator, all without 5G, by the way. Haven't brought up 5G yet. Yes, that's going to be a very big change. But right now, all of this equipment is actually can be used to pulse you with various frequencies, because every single human emotion, from fear to joy to sadness to any type of human emotion, has a certain frequency that's different from every other frequency. And they now, because they've been studying our brain now for over 50 years, they have the dictionary of all the frequencies that have to do with our thinking, our emotions, our passions. Yes, all of it. So when you're talking about, oh, I don't like to hear these bad things that are going on in the world because it makes me feel so helpless, I'm not going to be able to stop them. Why should I even know about it? I'll just bury my head and watch more TV. When you allow that, I don't know what you thought life was going to be, but when I came into life, maybe not as a very young child, I very quickly, and I was a 60s person, we had a lot of political stuff going on then. It wasn't just sex, drugs, and rock and roll, my friends. It was politics. It was spiritual quest. It was having long conversations deep into the night about what truth might be, what it meant to have a real education. We were on track for a real, authentic life. And we wanted to know if we were being manipulated. And we certainly were. We certainly were. And it's the same today. It's just more sophisticated today. There's less CIA and FBI agents doing things to us if we're activists. There's more remote use of electromagnetics to control our brains, to control our moods. All of this, we need to come to terms with this because this is our life. This is not just some bus stop we're waiting until death takes us over and we'll go someplace where it's much nicer than here. This is our job to be here. It's like you were saying, Joe, we're stewards. We are here to become conscious of the condition of all of humanity on the earth. These are our brothers and sisters. And something is going on now that is far beyond what should be going on for people to be able to just go about their lives, make a living, have some love with their families. This is far beyond that. This is into manipulation. This is into murder and mayhem. And we need to really take a good look at it so we can be of service to those around us and to our own lives, that when we came into life, we did our job. And, perhaps when we die, some being will say to us, well done. You really looked at things. You really worked hard. You wanted the truth because truth, beauty, and goodness are the greatest things that a human being can experience. And now we welcome you with open arms for a well-deserved rest. I don't want to die not having used my talents and my gifts. And that is what I have set myself to do. It is a little dangerous, yes. I'm not asking people to live as I do. This was my choice, and so a bit of danger does come with it. But I am asking you to please join me in striking for the truth again, because we're living in an era of lies, deception, and evil. And we must really take a good, close look at our lives and decide what we need to do, paying attention to our children, paying attention to how we make a living, whatever it is. Look at your lifestyle. Is it something that you're gaining health from? Are you still going to the medical establishment? I personally have not been to a doctor since I was 13 years old. I'm 72. Everything works great because I've studied health and hold myself to a discipline so that I can be of service as long as possible in my mission to awaken people to what is going on in our era. This is our era. This is our watch. And we must be good watchmen.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I'm saying. I mean, that we get this, and the media does make us focus on ourselves a lot too. When you watch these stories and you read books and you get into spirituality, you get this super focused, thing about the self. But when you really study, I guess, ancient wisdom in any form or fashion, could be Eastern, Western, whatever. I know that you've done quite a bit of research into Rudolf Steiner. There's a lot of becoming aware of all things and all consciousness and aware of everything around you. Even the great mystic Daskalos was like, no matter how advanced you may be in awareness, at the end of every day, he taught this thing called introspection, where before you lay down to lay your head down at night, you thought about everything you did that day. And it wasn't to judge yourself. It was only to ask yourself, did I handle that right? What could I have done differently? And was I aware of the situation? No matter how advanced you got, so that when the day came next, you could do it better or serve others better. And I think that's important.
I can't believe you mentioned Daskalos. I love Daskalos.
Oh, yeah, me too. Super big time master there.
So wonderful. I'm so sorry I didn't get to meet him before he crossed over. I would have loved to have met him.
Yeah, we had Daniel Joseph on the show quite a few times, who, I guess he actually did get to meet him and wrote a couple of books about him. And every life that Daskalos touched, he changed in a big way,
Oh, he was the real deal.
And I wonder what happened, right? Because when you look at the works of Steiner and some other folks, and you go down, there are ancient masters, right? These people that knew this stuff. And then, in the Western society, we created secret societies here. So I guess back in the day that we could learn the stuff without getting our heads cut off or the church killing us. But that stuff still happened anyways. But somewhere along the line, something got messed up. And,
yes.
JFK did a speech about that. You've got that on your website too. And the next thing you know, he's dead. And that's always bothered me. And that shot that rang out, I think, was the precipice of change.
Well, this entire nation and the UK, now these are the two I know about that I've studied in depth, are entirely run by secret societies. Entirely. At every level. Doesn't matter if it's local or national. They are run by secret societies, and these secret societies no longer carry those excellent principles that hundreds of years ago, perhaps thousands of years ago, they carried. That is over. And they have been infiltrated. They have been taken over by powers and principalities that have other agendas for them. And Daskalos, he was a simple Christian mystic who had extraordinary memories and gave us extremely good advice. I mean, I've read all the books that Kyriakos wrote about Daskalos. I've read them all at least 3 times because he gave such good principles for how to live an actual Christian life, not going to church and saying the right prayers and dogma and doctrine. No, about how we are with ourselves and with our brothers and sisters on the earth, whether, it's not that we have to be palsy-walsy with everyone and just, love them and hug them and that. No, that's all part of our conditioning. This idea that of love that I don't know where it came from, because it's really sort of a neediness, I would say. And I think if we can just go over our own lifestyle and really take a good look at it and say yay or nay to the various parts, then we can begin to really live, still have a good personal life in this era where society is slowly crumbling around us because of various things that we did not take care of in good order when we could have taken care of them. Now, in my opinion, it's too late to do that. And so now it's a matter of how will we survive this time of transition until we see what is going to happen with it, because the main players in this deep politics technology are so vast and so wealthy and so cut off from any type of human affection for being a true leader with one's people, that we're going to have to run this one out. And, it's probably not going to be pretty. But meanwhile, we can still have a very qualitative life, but not if we're hiding and we're in fear. Fear produces acidity, and I'll tell you about some of these little entities that you have breathed in, such as Morgellons. You mentioned Morgellons before. They thrive in an acidic environment. So we got to get rid of the fear, but what will get rid of the fear is more self-knowledge, real self-knowledge, real honesty with oneself, and choosing a lifestyle that is really conducive to, yes, helping people when they come along. It isn't that you need to run out there and save everybody and go down and start feeding the poor or whatever. It's up to you. what you choose to do. But one of the things that is essential is to learn our condition so that you know exactly what to do and what not to do. And you will not end up in fear and trepidation and depression, and therefore, start taking terrible drugs from Big Pharma and enriching their coffers by, sacrificing your own lives when you have not understood how it is now. And therefore, out of that will come, I promise you, will come ideas as to how you will want to live now from here on out.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I think it upsets people when we say things like that. It upsets me when people ask me to look at myself. Sometimes it does, but that's part of it. No matter how intelligent I think I am about something or how much I've researched, there's a thing something I respect more than anything, Elana, and that's something that you have and others have. I've seen more wasted talent. I've seen some of the most talented people in the world, and when I don't mean just artistically, but also mean emotionally, people that could heal the planet. And I know we're not trying to go out and heal the planet. That's not what we should do. We should heal ourselves, our community, and work our way out. But I've seen that level of talent be in so much pain and beat themselves up so much because of the way society is, because of all of what you're talking about. And what you have and what I respect and what I wish a lot more people have is persistence. In the face of everything, doesn't matter how bad it is or who judges you or what's happening, just keep going, keep pushing.
Right. But the reason I can do that is because I have real knowledge of what is going on. And that's, it's not an opinion. I'm not talking about an opinion. I'm talking about deep research, putting the pieces together, contextualizing it so that I can understand how big this picture really is and how deep it really goes. That is the core of my persistence and my ability to have courage in the face of danger. And that's something we all can have. Martin Luther King is not coming. There is no one coming to save us now. It is up to us. And that's to me, the hidden blessing in this technological conundrum that we find ourselves in. And I haven't even begun to talk about what that conundrum really is. We have to realize that this is our task, and we're going to grow from this, but not if we're in resistance and not if we're hiding because we're afraid. We've got to really take hold of this and derive a love of the truth so that we will have help always from the other side of existence, from the spiritual side of existence, if we cling to the truth. If we don't cling to the truth and we cling instead to fear and we allow it to eat us alive and we overeat and we hide in drugs and we hide in a variety of things, then I can't promise help coming. We have to be what we want to receive. You see what I mean?
Yes.
We have to be that. It isn't a matter of being a peon waiting at the gates for a few crumbs to come out. No, this is taking hold of our birthright as human beings, and we are now facing a technological takeover that wants to turn us into machines that are run by artificial intelligence. And the way they're doing it is not to drag you into a clinic or put electrodes on your head. The way they're doing it is they're smearing the skies with nanotechnology, and we're breathing it in because we have to breathe, and it comes down to the earth, and so we breathe it in. And because it's so tiny, it is able to go through our blood-brain barrier, and it is in our brain. It is in our blood. It is in our muscles. It is in our tissues. It is everywhere. And this nanotech is not just inert. It is not just a thing. It has, I know this is going to blow your minds, it has its own consciousness. And it operates in a hive mind. It operates as one unit. And it is, again, in touch with various fusion centers where there are big supercomputers drawing in the data that is all these nanos are collecting from inside us, outside us, everywhere, the food we eat, the water we drink, everything. And so this is our challenge, is this nano world that has been superimposed upon us without our permission. It was never discussed, it was never debated, it's never been tested outside of being smeared through the upper atmosphere and through the troposphere so that we will breathe it as they learn from us about how they're going to change humanity into transhumanism. And this is our challenge. And so if this, just get this now, if this nanotech is conscious in some primitive way, as a swarm, as a hive mind, can you imagine what our consciousness, so superior to its consciousness, can you imagine what we could do to defend ourselves if we were to take hold of our consciousness and really develop it? Really look at the frequencies that we're allowing ourselves to fall into and choosing other frequencies. We would have to study the brain. We would have to learn about our bodies, about what's going on outside us in technology. Yes, it's a big learning curve. And probably a lot of people don't have a lot of confidence in themselves anymore, particularly in science. But I'm telling you, it's one step after another. That's all it is. One day after another, 1 minute after another, one step after another. And that's how I do it. I have no PhD in physics. I have a bachelor's degree in biology, but I haven't used that for years.
Right, yeah.
I am rebooting myself because I am concerned. I want the beautiful God-given human being to continue. I do not want people controlled by 5G, which is exactly what they have in mind, that the 5G, with its millimeter waves, will control us through the nanotechnology inside us by utilizing the Internet of Things. That is exactly what they're going to do. But it will not work on those who develop their consciousness. It simply will not. So I'm inviting everyone to join me in this because this is our era. It's being stolen from us. And we must stand up and learn about these technologies so that we can properly defend ourselves as human beings.
Absolutely.
And the future of humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got to take a break here. I promise you guys I will get to your questions. I got some specific questions about some of these subjects coming in, but it is kind of funny as we go into break, and I know some of you are noticing that no matter what subject we talk about, no matter who we bring on the show, more people are telling us that it's important to develop our consciousness and our awareness. It's real. We'll be right back.
By now we can get the information.
I love magic, and on Lighting the Void, each and every week, you will get to hear shows about magic, mysticism, and many other subjects that stretch your mind and imagination. So when I got my mind on the magic and the magic on my mind, I listened to Lighting the Void on the Fringe FM. It's magic.
May the gods look with favor upon you.
You're wondering what we're going to do to you, aren't you?
If you are interested in occult subjects, psychic abilities, symbols, tarot, witchcraft, magic, or anything similarly related, my book Occult Arcana will provide you with a truly objective overview of these topics and more. Written in anything but modern language, Occult Arcana was compiled to help researchers balance their quest for a better understanding of the meanings of and in such studies. Occult Arcana is available in softcover and digital form from www.thesecretteachings.info. All copies can also be autographed if requested. That's Occult Arcana from www.thesecretteachings.info.
Every Saturday at midnight here on The Fringe FM, you can join me, Stephen Canby, the host of The Midnight Hour Show. On my show, we explore paranormal topics with a skeptical view. We search for evidence. We search for proof. We search for the truth. Because who better than me, my friends, a magician, a man trained in the art of deception and misdirection? Who better than me to investigate for you some of the greatest mysteries on planet Earth? And I hope you will join me every Saturday night here on The Fringe FM at midnight Eastern Standard Time for the Midnight Hour Show, 9 p.m. Pacific. I want you to join me here every Saturday night at midnight for an incredible journey. Consider yourself invited. Brand new episodes of The Midnight Hour Show, available exclusively every Saturday night here on The Fringe FM. Consider yourself invited.
Join us on The Midnight.
Hey Google, I would like to become more intelligent about the unknown world around us, but I don't have time to read or go to school because I work all the time. What do you recommend?
Try listening to Lighting the Void. It's the best way to become more intelligent about the unknown world around us. Besides, I happen to think Joe Roop is the most handsome voice in radio. Listen Monday through Friday 9 p.m. till midnight Pacific time on The Fringe FM. Plus, you will hear a bonus feature called The Stranger Than Fiction News, reported by Vance Nesbitt, news anchor and sorcerer. With all this information in one location, you are guaranteed to be more attractive to others in your social circle because you'll beam with intellectual wisdom.
Yeah, I think I'll try that.
Hi, this is Aaron Hunter, host of Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast where we tell real paranormal experiences of people from around the world. And we also conduct interviews with authors, investigators, psychics, and mediums. Real people, real stories, real fear. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on The Fringe FM. See you then.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you are interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
You're listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
Elana Freeland is our guest tonight. If you want to check out the website for reference while you're listening to the show, it's elanafreeland.com, ELANA, Freeland, like freeland.com. And it is storming like crazy out here. And so you know what happens when it's lightning out here during Lighting the Void? We may go down, but hopefully we won't. If we do, we'll come right back, I promise you, as soon as the connection comes back. But it is storming like crazy. It's a perfect night to talk about this. We're talking about the deep state, the transhumanistic agenda, Morgellons, everything. And I've got some questions here for you. One of the first questions I think is important is, you know, it's kind of scary to think about if this is going on when we go outside and we breathe. I mean, we can't do anything about it, but there are things we can do about it, right? What can we do to protect ourselves from this stuff?
Well, what I'm doing, I've been very influenced by a few people. I'm friends with Clifford Carnicom, who is the #1 independent scientist who was studying Morgellons back as far as the mid-'90s and late '90s. And he has come up with some ideas. Another person is Tony Pantalaresco. It's a long Italian name. But Tony is finding ways. He has Morgellons. He's finding ways to get the nanoparticles out of his body. And so I'm taking one thing that Tony recommended. The first thing he did, he recommended building a foot bath, an ionizing foot bath. And I did that with a friend's help. With copper wire and a 9-volt battery, and put vinegar in the foot bath and soak your feet. And then after the second or third time you do it, there will be a scum on top of the water that is what's coming out of your pores. And then the next one that I do, and I do this one now pretty much at least twice a week, and that's the bath. And it's 1 cup of sea salt, 1 cup of Epsom salt, and 1 cup of borax, Borax, the stuff that you use to up your laundry detergent. Borax has boron in it, and believe it or not, all of our skin now is coated in a polymer that is part of what's being dumped on us, and the borax will make its way through that plastic film on our pores to open our pores so that we can get the nanos out. So those are 2 things I do. Lots of people are feverishly trying to discover new techniques. Tony came up with one, building an electromagnetic field on your body by using magnets. And he has those instructions at one of his sites. And that spelling on Tony Pantalaresco is Pantaleresco. He has about 3 sites. He is doing internet all the time. Thousands of people have been helped by his ideas. And that's just a little bit of what's going on. I mean, everyone who knows that this is true is experimenting, looking at their body as a lab, and seeing and then sharing the information on Facebook or in emails, however they do it.
Yeah, I think it's super important. Now, some of the stuff that we used to take for detoxing and things, it's almost like we have to, it's necessary for us to take them constantly now just to stay on the defense.
It has to be part of your regime. That's why I say, look at your lifestyle. It may be that eating a quart of ice cream, sitting watching TV all night is probably not a good idea. I mean, there are things you're going to have to sacrifice, but the quality of life will improve. And you will be part of the rest of us. There are thousands of people who have awakened to this and are working very hard to come up with solutions.
There's a couple of questions I want to ask for. First, I want to go back into the wisdom teachings just for a little bit. And I don't know what your opinions are on this, and I'm just curious and you don't have to answer because some people are, I've even run into people that are afraid to answer this question. What do you think about societies like the Lucis Trust? What do you think about them? Now, I'm just curious.
I know all about the Lucis Trust. It used to be called Lucifer Trust. No, these are practicing Satanists as far as I'm concerned. And if people think that Satanism is just something for Halloween, you're dead wrong. This is a real religion, and it has gotten a real boost in America, and especially in the U.S. Army, by the presence of the head of the Temple of Set, Michael Aquino, who was when he started out writing Mind Wars for the military, he was a major or a lieutenant colonel, and now he's a retired general. There is really, it's important to look at Satanists because they are very, very interested in technology, and I am convinced that they are a big part of this aspect of the deep state.
Yeah, it's kind of, when I looked into it, it's, Alice Bailey, is that the name of the teacher behind it? And when I looked into it, I was thinking, okay, they're borrowing most of the teachings from Theosophy, but all of the flags and how it's just in everything in government. You could see it in the UN. It is a little freaky. I mean, all you got to do is look at the symbolism first. That ought to raise your awareness if you know anything about that, and see that there is some type of worldwide agenda going on. And I do think that they truly believe that what they're doing is good, or at least they're trying to convince us that it's good. I don't know if they truly believe it or not, but I feel like it's one of those people that believe their own lies type of thing,
Well, I would say that they, and I know who you're talking about because they run several organizations. It's sort of the same thing happened to Freemasonry. It degenerated into something that has been, many victims of pedophilia have named Freemasons as being perpetrators. I think that many of these once perhaps good, spiritually inclined organizations have completely degenerated now and cannot be trusted. And certainly I consider the Lucis Trust to be a synonym for the UN.
Fair enough. I'm glad you stated your opinion on that, because a lot of people I've asked that, even off the air, they won't address it. And I don't claim to know everything about it, but I will say it's worth a look. It's sure worth a look if you're willing to look at something like that. Does the idea of terraforming or moving into other planets, do you think that plays a role in the deep state as well, how they're trying to do the moon to Mars thing?
Yes. The person who really awakened me to this was Catherine Austin Fitz, the investment analyst. She's a big fan of my book. She's bought dozens of copies and given them out to people. She alerted me to the secret space program. She did a great deal of research because of her fiscal abilities, she was able to research the military budget for outside of an audit and discovered that not just $21 trillion is missing from that budget, but try $60 trillion is missing. And so to me, I see the geoengineering programs. These are all part of the happy time.
All right, I think we managed to get back on the station. I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me, so give us a holler if you hear us on the Fringe FM. A bolt of lightning hit the studio, and yes, everything is protected, just like you guys told me to do, but it still knocks out the power, and then everything has to reboot. And I promise you, it was a nightmare to get back on. I don't know what's going on. Trying to get back hold of Elana was insane. So I'm not saying Big Brother had anything to do with it, but maybe they did. And Elana, I know you were talking about before we just got knocked off the air. You were talking. I asked you about terraforming other planets in the secret space program, and right as you were talking about the government, everything went down. So, do you remember where we left off there?
Well, was it at the beginning of my comment?
I believe so. Yes, that's right when it went down.
Okay, because I had a nice chat with myself.
I know. I told who I was talking to. But I said, I bet she's still talking, and I'm trying to get everything back on. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what I wanted to say about it is it was Catherine Austin Fitts, the investment analyst. She's a big fan of mine. She's bought over, I don't know how many dozens of my books she's given out. But she is the one who told me about finding that $21 trillion was missing from the military budget, and they had no idea where it had gone. And then recently she did an interview with the dark journalist and said that they had gone back into the fiscal reports and discovered that it was actually probably more like $60 trillion missing from the military budget. So obviously the secret space program is expensive, and so is this geoengineering, which I assume is also being paid out of that money, that missing money. The idea for me is that what they want the transhumanist version of humanity for may be that they have had a lot of trouble with the Van Allen belts, the radiation belts above the planet. In fact, back in the 50s, they nuked the Van Allen belts and only served to develop one more belt. So is it possible that they are, that part of the transhumanist agenda is to get a human being altered, an AI type of human, maybe with some human features, perhaps a virtual human, meaning one that is not in the flesh, but has been absolutely copied and reproduced in a virtual plane of existence through the Van Allen belts and explore the solar system and beyond. So this is very feasible. So when you say terraforming the planet Earth, that is one of the 7 agendas of I just want to name them really quickly, of the geoengineering program. A lot of people think, oh, well, it's about weather. Well, yes, it is about weather, but weather is only the first thing. And then there's the planetary geophysical operations, like you said, terraforming, changing various coastlines. The coastlines are being changed. Certainly California and some of the forest fires that have occurred there are part of this. No question in my mind about that. They also, another operation is the chemical, electromagnetic, atmospheric operations, wherein they're actually making plasma and antimatter in our atmosphere now that it's ionized. And then yet another one is directed energy warfare operations. They have a lot of types of weapons that are being used in the space program now that Trump is involved in creating the National Space Council and the 6th military branch. I think, what does he call it? Space
Force.
Space Force.
Yep.
So that's that directed energy weapons in the upper atmosphere. There could be already experiments in warfare going on up there. And then there's the surveillance neural operations. Recently, Elon Musk launched, I can't remember how many satellites up there for internet operations in rural areas. And then that includes artificial intelligence. The neural operations, indeed, are mind control here on planet Earth from far above in space. And then There's the biological transhumanism operations, and that includes the Morgellons and other pathogens that they're no doubt testing by having this fantastic aerosol delivery execution that nobody seems, a lot of people seem to think isn't going on. So then the other one is and you mentioned, I think you mentioned something about it, but I did anyway, the exotic propulsion craft that appear to be hiding in some of the fake cloud. They are not real moisture clouds. Most of them are actually plasma clouds. But the cloud cover from the chemtrails can be thickened. Some of these craft are hiding in those clouds. Some of them are triangular, which leads me to think they're like a TR-3B or one of the other types of hovering craft that we do have, spacecraft. Or it could be the Aurora, or it could be, and some sort of entity from another dimension that has become very enamored of all of the radiation in our environment. I'm very open to thinking about a lot of situations that could be going on, but it certainly is obvious that detection and obscuration of exotic propulsion craft is definitely the seventh operation. So that's how I look at it. I wanted to bring in, yes, the terraforming. Is it being done from planet Earth? Yes. And if you're going to ask me if I think of ET and I think of things from Alpha Centauri and et cetera out of our dimension, I'll say this. And I have given talks. MUFON, actually, the National UFO organization, invited me to give 2 talks last spring, I believe, and I did. And what I told them was that I really couldn't comment on abductions and craft from out of our particular planetary sphere, but that I could definitely let them know a few things about what's going on in this atmosphere that has to do with the secret space program. But I wanted to also say that I mentioned the word Satanist, so now this won't sound so odd. But I think that if a human being, say a very bright, gifted astrophysicist who's working on, this secret space program and knows about the geoengineering and knows what it does, et cetera, and maybe has a high security clearance so that he's not operating totally in the dark as to what his little bit is going toward. But say that he just doesn't really care about humanity. He doesn't even care about his own humanity. Maybe he has some subcutaneous, way to get into various rooms that he needs to get into, and he doesn't mind putting little machines in his body. Whatever it is, I will say this, that I can imagine, because of that old law, nature abhors a vacuum, very old, very real. If a human being does not have its own humanity anymore, but is actually serving purposes that lead to the destruction of perhaps millions of human beings, but feels that it's justified because it's science or whatever the justification is, that human being has left a vacuum in their soul, and I know that something will fill that vacuum, and it will not be human. It will certainly be anti-human, and in that way, I do see that this is where we're at now. We have a lot of people who have arms, legs, heads, but I'm not sure that they're human anymore. Are they from Alpha Centauri or something like that? I don't know. Are they demons? I don't know. But I do know that nature abhors a vacuum. And if a human being gives up their moral nature to care about what their impact is on humanity itself, then they will be inhabited by something that is filling that vacuum in their soul. And I would not be that person for all the gold in the world.
Yeah, I do see how some people that would get involved with that, you know, when they have diseases or they have something where they're about to die, they take advantage of those people that are in fear. I think a lot of times and make them test dummies, and say, look, you know, we got this technology, or we can give you this limb or whatever. But I don't know who to trust anymore in tech. You know, back when Elon Musk was touting against the UN. He said, look, they're going to make autonomous weapons for warfare. We need to stop this. He was trying to warn everybody against the AI. And yet he's launching several secret programs with SpaceX. And now he's actually working on Neuralink, which is what I think is completely dangerous. I mean, there's nobody that has power, honestly, that I feel like we can trust anymore.
No, not at all. And certainly not Elon Musk. He is a ploy. And I think he's mind controlled. I watch his eyes. His eyes behave very strangely. So I think that they are using the Hegelian dialectic, create the problem so you can control the solution. And Elon Musk, saying, "Oh, be careful of AI," and then turning around and saying this. It's just a more cognitive dissonance that to confuse the people. I think he and others like him, Bill Gates, certainly any of the big names, they're all used. There's no question. And as far as the technology goes, it's here. That's all we need to know. It's here. It's weaponized. It is extremely dangerous for humanity in the human form that we have been in for millions of years. And I want nothing to do with it. On the other hand, I am going to have something to do with it, but I can ameliorate its impact on me by studying the technology, by experimenting with different things that can get the nanos out of me and take care of my body. I eat a very good diet. I do not take any drugs. I do not drink. I eat organic food. I have taken every measure possible so that I can be here and have clear thoughts and be able to tell people the truth as close as I can. And that's how I'm doing it. Now, is that the way everybody should do it? No. No, everybody's going to have to take their own route and then share what has worked and what has not worked with other people. This is a spiritual war for the future of humanity. I am in no doubt at all anymore. I used to think we were just collateral damage for a secret space program. I no longer believe that. I know this is intentional. It is to undermine our immune system so that we're more vulnerable to remote weapons like the 5G. So that said, I'm going to go now because I need to get my sleep.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
I wanted to talk to you about a little bit more about Rudolf Steiner and the spiritual war, but I'll tell you, I apologize about that. Maybe we can have you back on again in the future. I know you're busy, but that would be great. And thank you so much for coming on the broadcast. It was really, really cool. And I really appreciate you being patient with us on this one too, as well.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that it wasn't, but my fault. But Joe, I wanted to say that for the Rudolf Steiner, you can prepare for the next time. Check Rudolf Steiner on the 8th sphere. And if you don't know about the 8th sphere, take my word for it. They're building a virtual 8th sphere right now. So check out the 8th sphere. Steiner's very clear on it. And then you'll be ready for us next time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again for coming on the broadcast. It was a real pleasure speaking with you.
All right. Bye, Joe.
You have a good one. All right, guys, we'll be right back. More Lighting the Void coming up. Don't go anywhere.
From the news center outside the city of Chicago in the great Midwest, it's the Stranger Than Fiction News right here on the Fringe FM. I'm Vance Nesbitt. Here's our headlines. Cape Cod boaters have an unforgettable brush with a great white shark. People in Cape Cod, Massachusetts got the surprise of their lives last Monday after a pair of shark sightings. The first one, which took place off the coast of Provincetown, was spotted by boaters and featured a great white that measured about 17 feet long. The creature even managed to bump the boat. In Barnstable, passengers on a cruise boat also saw a shark in the water. Several beaches in Cape Cod were closed last Monday due to reports of shark sightings. More than 180 sharks had been spotted in the area this summer, and that number may go up. Source, Microsoft News. And an extinct prehistoric bird has been spotted and reported in Arizona. A 38-year-old woman in Maricopa County says she saw a bird believed to have become extinct 3 million years ago. The eyewitness is an avid bird watcher who provided a full name and location information but did ask to remain anonymous. She told Cryptozoology News a week ago Saturday that she was driving home when she spotted the purported bird on Friday at around noon. Quote, I was driving north on a 6-lane road. I was coming from the grocery store, she said. I saw an extremely large bird flying very low. It was on the same side of the road but going in the opposite direction of traffic heading south. The wingspan took up 3 lanes of traffic. The woman described the bird as having a wingspan of over 20 feet. The bird was brownish-gray color, and it was light-colored. I am a bird lover and often go into nature with my binoculars to explore birds. And I know what cranes and eagles and hawks look like. This resembled a crane, but with a longer neck. But the wings were massive. It was flying so low I was concerned it could fly into a car, but it just kept soaring, she explained. She added that she didn't have enough time to grab her phone to take pictures, and that she couldn't have just stopped in the middle of the lane. In retrospect, though, I wish I would have done a U-turn and followed it. I regret not thinking of that at the time. The Arizona resident said that the bird definitely looked out of place, and that after looking it up online, it looked very much like a Palagornis sandersea. It looked and felt like it was prehistoric. When I found the illustration of that bird, it looked almost exactly like it. Source, cryptozoologynews.com. And time for another Stranger Than Fiction Fringe Fun Fact. In the 16th and 17th century Europe, cannibalism was actually a fairly common practice, and it was all for medical purposes. The practice seems to have started because Egyptian mummies were thought to have magical curative properties, so they were ground up and put into many remedies. This has been the Stranger Than Fiction News on the Fringe FM. Again, I'm Vance Nesbitt, news anchor and sorcerer.
So call Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada. You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
Yes, there is a reason why I played that lightning come back like that, because it is surging left and right here. And I got to tell you guys, I know you're going to be mad at me for this, but I know when something's about to happen around here. I just know it. I'm not manifesting it or anything. I've been in this shack long enough to know when something's going to happen. And sure enough, I called it, just like some of you guys said in chat before that lightning strike happened, that it nailed the shack. Now I've got extra surge protectors and I've done everything I can to protect this place here, but the power is surging on and off. It's still just smashing out here like crazy, and God, you guys are going to be mad. I don't want to risk it. I know deep down if I do, something stupid's going to happen, when all I had to do was just turn everything off, and until we get one of those, I guess, units that protect the house, which we're still working on that, I might have to do that if it gets too crazy out here. I mean, literally as I'm talking now, the power just keeps dimming. And all of us have worked really long and hard to get what we have as far as the equipment and stuff goes on the show. So I think I'm making the smart move here. And I want to thank Elana Freeland for coming on the broadcast tonight. That was fantastic. And it does make me actually want to get involved with the deep state even more when it comes to researching these things. And she'll come back on and we'll talk about that, because if any of you guys listen to The Dark Journalist, you kind of know the whole Ahriman, the Eighth Sphere, Rudolf Steiner stuff. I mean, this is big stuff, man. This is what I believe where the real spiritual war is happening as well, too. And I want to I want to do it right. And we did tonight. We had a small introduction. We had a small introduction to it, and I'm happy about it. So I do think that from here on out, that on this show, we will keep introducing that kind of slowly into the show a little bit more. And I got to roll out of here because I know that I know for a fact what's going to happen. And I just need you guys to trust me on this one. Also, though, I still have to say, for you guys on YouTube copying the shows, please stop. Like, I will file a copyright thing on you. I don't want to. But that's why I say when we do roll out of here that, oh God, that was another one. Please do not copy the show without written permission. And music was by Chronox, Kevin MacLeod, Space Station, Bundy. I want to thank Pacho, Don, Lady Ann, Dennis, Eric Markham, my man John Duke. It was good to see you in the chat. I hope you come back, brother. We'll see you guys tomorrow night for Open Lines. Little recap. Good night.
And opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting, its sponsors, affiliates, or staff. Listener discretion is advised.
Play it again, my Johnny. Ah.